Thank you for joining us today. We're going to give a couple of minutes for people to continue to log on. My name's Ashley. I'm the Director of Marketing at GoCo. So you might have seen us before if you've attended the rest of this series. This is our fourth. Yeah, it's April. So our fourth webinar that we've done with Lori in recent months. So if you haven't caught the rest, we'll make sure you get a link to those other recordings. Looks like people are still signing on. So we'll let people get settled, but let's see, a couple of the usual housekeeping items. We love to hear from you in the chat. So if you want to post in the chat where you're logging in from, we can get a testing, make sure it's working. I'm in Houston, not at the GoCo headquarters, but we are based in Houston. Yep, Lori is in Chicago. I've heard that some of our northern friends are experiencing snow. It's 80 degrees here, so complete opposite. Let's see. Looks like people from all over, from Florida, some more Texas, Delaware. Oh, so yeah, so feel free to use the chat throughout the presentation. There's also a Q&A module. So if you have a question, put it in there so it doesn't get lost in the chat, and we will address questions either throughout as they pop up or definitely at the end of the session. It looks like we have a decent amount logged on now.
Kim is joining from the Netherlands. You probably win the prize for furthest away, I suppose.
Probably. I don't think we have many like that.
All of you Florida people, I'm excited to share that Ashley will be presenting at HR Florida in Orlando. So she has an amazing program that we are excited to bring to the Florida community and anyone near Florida. It's a great conference. Yeah, so I see we have Carrie from Florida. I saw someone else, I forgot, a few other people.
A handful. It was a lot of fun. I went to a ton of conferences last year, and I remember Florida, there's the lip syncing competition, and everybody had the best costumes.
I just put, for anyone who wants to quickly download the slides in a note-taking format, we've got the link there for you. So you are absolutely welcome to download those real quick and take notes before we get going. And then we'll probably get started in a minute or two, right?
Yep, I think so. We'll read off the SHRM code at the end of the session for anyone that is here for SHRM credit. You can also use that code for HRCI credit. And I'll continue to post that link to the slides a couple of more times in case anyone missed it. But it looks like we've tapered off on people joining. So Lori, take it away whenever you're ready.
Perfect. Well, let's get going. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Some of you may have been in our past programs. I love interaction. And this is a program that we can really kind of crowdsource ideas with each other. So please use the chat. And if you have a question, you can put it in the Q&A. We will definitely have time at the end of the session to take specific questions, but I'll be watching the chat as well. So let's jump right in. And what today is all about is really retaining our best employees. I'd like everybody to reflect on the idea that we do not want you retaining every employee. Some employees are better off if they go bye-bye. So we want really this idea of retaining the best of who we have. And a lot of your managers will say to you, you know, why is it my problem if an employee likes work or if an employee's happy? And we know that engaged employees make your business more productive. Some of the reasons that we hear about all the time from our managers is that they're short-staffed and they want that to kind of be your problem. But we know that a company with engaged workers will have 51% less turnover than the other businesses. We know that engaged workers have 38% higher productivity and 50% higher loyalty Uh-oh, Chris is getting a error. People, let us know if you were able to access the slides. Otherwise, we'll get them to you after, because I'm going to keep going. 50% higher loyalty from their clients. Oh, it looks like it doesn't. Oh, God. All right, Ashley, I'm going to ask you to deal with the chat and the slides and all that. Maybe you can put it back up again. And then finally, we know that engaged employees make for more profitable companies. So you will have 27% higher profit than your counterpart that is not engaged. So while we're trying to help everyone with the slides, I'm going to go ahead and share a little bit of information about myself so that you know, as we go through this, who I am and where I'm coming from.
Meet Lori Kleiman of HR Topics. Lori's HR story begins in 1981 when she packed her bags for college at the University of Illinois, expecting to get a business degree and become an accountant just like her dad. But numbers weren't her thing. So with her degree in industrial sociology, Lori started her career as human resources director in her family's commercial photography business, employing 250 team members in 5 states. Working her way up to VP of operations, she learned the business of people.
Unfortunately, technology made the world of commercial photography obsolete. So I started my own HR consulting firm for small businesses, growing that enterprise to 7 employees working full-time in my home and just under $1 million in sales. But that wasn't sustainable. So
in 2007, Arthur J. Gallagher purchased Lori's consulting company. The entire team moved into the Gallagher Benefit Services operation and took the business model of HR consulting to small business nationwide. Lori was a mentor to HR operations in Gallagher offices in Houston, Baton Rouge, East Florida, and more. But corporate life wasn't for Lori, and as much as Gallagher was great for her and the business, Lori left in 2013 and returned to her entrepreneurial work. Her new organization, HR Topics, works to support HR professionals and small businesses with actionable tools and tips to drive results. And to back up all the experience, Lori has a master's in HR and holds SPHR and SHRM SCP certifications. So whether your background is in a small family business, entrepreneurship, or large corporations, I just want to make sure that you know I've been there and done that. And I understand the HR challenges you're faced with every day. Now let's get on with today's program. So that's a little bit about me and what I do. I'd like to take 2 seconds and launch a poll to find out a little bit about you and what you do. So how many of you are HR certified? Many of you might be in other roles, where you just wouldn't be interested in HR certification. But I'd like to know who's got their APHR, the very entry level, PHR or SHRM CP, SPHR. This will give me some idea of your background in human resources. We'll talk more about the credit codes at the end. So Ashley, have enough people answered that we can show the results? Perfect. Oh, we do have a few APHRs out there. Great. And a lot of just good HR generalist certifications. And that's terrific. If we can go on to the next poll real quick, it'll just give me an idea of what level you are in your organization. So just help me understand who's on the call so that I can, tailor my comments to appropriately for who's here. And Audra, congratulations on getting your master's in HR. It's a very different thing than HR certification. Education is fabulous and you can't get enough of it. But certification is something that we're starting to see in the industry as being required, believe it or not, by a lot of job titles. So let's see what kind of people we have on the call with us today. Perfect. So a little over about 60% are generalists and managers
We've got some admins and coordinators and some directors. Perfect. All right. Thanks, Ashley, for doing that. So let's jump into this idea of what contributes to your employees being satisfied on the job. Because we know that this is the basis of how we're going to create any kind of employee engagement activities, employee engagement program. We know that the very first thing employees want and expect from you is respectful treatment. Employees care today most about walking into work and feeling comfortable, feeling welcomed, being engaged. Yes, there is a basic level of compensation, but we know that employees who have a great work environment, like the people they work with, are respected, aren't typically going to move for 25 or 30 cents an hour. The things they want from us is they want to be able to trust their leaders and trust their leaders to tell them what is really going on. People want job security. It's been a crazy 3 years. And so to the point we want to be able to let our employees know how our business is doing and that it's sustainable and their positions are solid. And employees want to be able to use the skills and abilities that they've acquired through their lifetime. They want to be able to bring things to your organization. So we're going to talk a lot in the next few minutes about how we can engage our employees at these levels, how we can have communication with them that builds that trust and rapport, how we can reach out to make sure that we're using the skills and services they have and need and bring to our organizations. Now, one of the things we know is what we accept grows. And what I mean by this is that if you constantly allow your top performer to float into work 15 minutes late every single day because they're your top performer and you just kind of know that's how it's going to go, well, then guess what? Everyone else in your organization is going to expect that they too can show up 15 minutes late. By the other hand, if you call out and, embrace those people that are doing great jobs and really, it's sort of, positive reinforcement is what it's called. And you make sure that you give that positive reinforcement very publicly to people. That will make a world of difference in growing your entire team. The people you want on your team these days are people that are adaptable, that are innovative, creative, complex problem solvers, and have a high level of emotional intelligence. Managers come to me all the time when we're doing hiring and say, I need somebody who knows this particular software program we use in our department. And the first thing I say to them is, no, you really don't. That software problem can be trained in probably a day and a half. They may not know everything about it, the ins and outs, but essentially, most of us work in roles that don't take a whole lot of training. We can get people where they need to be. Haley, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So really think about the kind of people you want and need on your team. And I'm going to ask you all right now to grab a blank piece of paper if you're somewhere where you can, because we're going to look at a graph on the next slide. And I want to talk to you about that. But I want to digress for 1 minute and talk about Haley, what Haley put here. And I don't think I have it right here with me. But Haley put that she heard a quote called "Help them grow or watch them go." That quote is the title of a book. It's available on Amazon by, I always mess up her last name, but it's Julie Winkle-Gahuli or something like that. Actually, she'd be a great speaker for GoCo. And it's a book, for $14. It's a fabulous book that has great resources about employee engagement. So shoot off on Amazon, not this minute, but later today. Google "Help Them Grow or Watch Them Go." I think you're going to find that book is about 6 years old. She has a brand new one that just came out. But so look for her other books. She's absolutely fabulous at how she looks at, she really comes at this from a performance management and engagement kind of angle. So there you go, Ashley. Perfect. Thank you. So everybody check it out. It's great. Julie's amazing. She's a great speaker. Okay, that blank piece of paper we just talked about. Think about 4 quadrants. And what employee, where an employee, I want everybody to think in their mind of their best employee that they love working with and the one that is at their door every single day, making them nuts. Think about where you put that person in terms of attitude and initiative. So if they don't have a very good attitude and they don't have much initiative, they go in the lower left-hand corner. If somebody's great to work with, has a great attitude, great initiative, they go in the top. And I think this is a great exercise to do with your leadership team and have them really sit and think about who is on their team today. The ones with a great attitude but not much initiative are probably fine. They come in, they do their job every day. We can live with them. They have low energy, whatever. The ones in the bottom left we're really concerned about. They have few ideas, no initiatives, whatever. They do their job, but they're really not the people we want to keep. The people with a lot of initiative are great workers and very talented, but if their attitude is bad, often it's because they're angry at leadership for some reason, or they're just not connecting. And then obviously, what we want are these people that make things happen, are realistic, put in the extra effort, and that sort of thing. But what we find in most businesses is that we spend 80% of our time in the people in the bottom left box. The people that don't have a very good attitude, don't have much initiative, and they're the ones that we're doing PIPs on, and we're writing them up, and we're giving them constructive feedback. I want to encourage you to think about how you can move in your organization the people that are sitting in these white boxes to that upper right-hand box, because that's where 80% of your energy should be put. These are people that either have a great attitude, there's just some reason they don't, they're not taking a lot of initiative, or people that are great workers and are talented, but something is going on with them. So those are the people that I want you to think about spending 80% of your time with. I honestly believe the people in the bottom left, we need to just say, you need to make a decision here. We're not sure this is the right job for you. you may not be sure this is the right job for you. It might be time for you to make that choice and let them really think about whether or not they want to step up to the next level. And a lot of this begins with hiring. As I talked a minute ago about training and development, I think it's critical that we train our managers, we work with our managers to hire for attitude, be willing to train the skills that people need, and then cultivate that initiative and drive by engaging them with our businesses. Does that make sense to everybody? The idea of first hiring people with the right attitude. Oh, I love what Dan put about maybe leaders deserve to have some of the anger directed at them. It is true. Leaders can turn good attitudes into bad very quickly. You know, we all know from recruiting, people do not quit jobs, they quit managers. And that is proven day after day in all of the literature. So your manager holds a lot of the power. And what we know is that all businesses are talking about the concern for upskilling management skills, because managers don't get trained. And I don't want to digress too much into recruiting right now, but we do have a real attitude or issue where somebody's doing a great job, so we promote them, and we do nothing about teaching them how to be a really good manager. We want our managers to understand they need to reach out and find out what their employees want to do. What is important to each given employee? Because everybody is motivated by something different, and that's a real struggle. What we know employees really, well, I'm going to digress and tell you a quick little story. Many years ago, 30 years ago, when I was very new in HR, we did a sales campaign, a sales contest for all of our salespeople. And at the end of the year, we were going to give a weekend. We gave a weekend away in downtown Chicago to the Ritz-Carlton for the winner. And I mean, then we would say his or her spouse, it was the 80s, but whoever they chose to bring at the Ritz-Carlton, dinner at one of the best restaurants in town, a really terrific experience. So we were excited. We promoted it all year long. We got to the end of the year. The guy won. His name was Mickey Crimson. I will tell you, I will never forget it. And he won, and we announced it on a Friday, and he was all excited. Everybody was excited for him. And he comes back Monday morning and he puts it on my desk and says, "I can't use this. You might as well give it to somebody who can." I was like, "What?" He said, "My wife won't leave our 7-year-old daughter with anyone, including family. And so we're just going to pass on it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So what did we do the next year? The next year, we gave everybody an index card and an envelope. And we told everybody to write on the index card what they would like, what prize would be important to them up to a value of $500. And write it on the index card, close the envelope, seal it, and put your name on the outside of the card, on the outside of the envelope. And what we then said was, this year at the end of the year, whoever wins, we're going to open the envelope and you can have whatever it is you wanted. And that made a huge difference. People loved it. They were working toward things that were really important to them. So think about that as you consider this idea of what do they want? Not what do you want? What do you think is cool? You may love traveling. They may never want to stay in a hotel their entire life. So really, as we think about employee engagement, make sure that you are focused on what they want. Now, what we know that they want from the workforce is recognition, as we've talked about, appreciation. They want to make connections. They want to make connections with their coworkers. They want to be committed to the organization and have meaningful work. When people talk about meaningful work, none of us have work that's, going to change the world. But for instance, I do a little bit of consulting still today. And I do it for only one high net worth couple and all of their organizations. And look, I have to do all the junk that's affiliated with HR. I have to sign people up for benefits. I got to send new hire background checks. I've got to do the performance review program. But what I know is that the people and organization I support lives to give away all of their money. And we have 3 separate foundations that I work for that give the money away. And by my doing my job well, I can make sure that our talent is out there doing what we need to do to make work meaningful. So it's not about, employees do not expect their paperwork to change world peace, but they do want to understand how their little piece fits into the bigger culture. And so that's our job as HR people, to help put this all together. Now, what we also know is that our employees want to be heard and valued. They want to know that they are an important part of the team. Does anybody have anything to put in the chat of ways we can encourage this from our employees? Any good ideas you're doing in your organization? Thanks, Latasha. I'm glad you liked that idea. There are different ways to have employee meetings, group meetings. Get it right. People are putting, Patrice said employee suggestion box, Rocio said employee committees. I love that. Oh, we got lots of ideas. Town hall. Oh, Audra, I love the young professional group. Those are usually called affinity groups. And just making sure that all these meetings, Ada, I love the VP thank you cards, but what we're really looking for is the other direction. Tracy, I love the employee advisory board. So you guys, the employee of the quarter or year, all these are great ideas. So everybody but Katie hit the nail on the head. Call out, and the rest of your ideas are great too. But I love what Katie said, which is call out employee wins in front of everybody. Publicly praise, privately criticize. Number 1 mantra for your managers: publicly praise, privately criticize. Because when somebody does something well, you want to make sure that we're highlighting it for everybody else. Now, we can create a culture where we do all these fun things at work. But what sometimes leaders say is, why are we spending all this money on all this? And what we do know is that bringing people together in a social way often sparks some of our very best ideas. People meeting casually, not in an official sit-down meeting, will allow people to be innovative and creative in ways that sometimes they don't. And this truly comes out of brain science. This isn't just my thought. So it's something that you can share with your leadership team, that during these events, We are creating the connections that allow people to collaborate back at the office, that allow people to understand who has what skill. So next time they need that skill on their team, they know who to reach out to. Now, a little bit of the science again behind employees in the workplace. There are 4 ways that we can see employee engagement. And you want to think about this in terms of your teams. Cognitive are employees that are sort of heads down, getting their work done, always not always, but focused on the job at hand. They're not just off, talking, bothering people. They really are cognitively engaged. The second one is emotional. People care about each other. They're doing nice things for each other. The physical engagement we see in literally that level of energy people are bringing to the job. When they come in the morning, are they walking, with some amount of energy over to their workspace, or are they just dragging their feet and being, and then advocacy are those people that are engaged in your employee referral program, for example. Are they out there bringing customers to your business? Are they out there bringing future employees to your business? So it's engagement isn't just about a smile on somebody's face. Engagement is really how they show up to the job each and every day. And of course, we all have bad days, right? But think of these 4 things as a new way to consider whether or not someone is engaged at work. And that it's not just really about happiness, it's are they taking that and bringing something back to your business? Now, one of the things we know is all of this comes from a basis of your culture. And how your culture is seen to your employees. It's always very interesting. If you ask your employees about the company culture, they don't always say it the way you think it's supposed to be. So often you want to ask people, how would you describe the culture of our company? If you were talking to a candidate for your department, how would you describe the culture? See what they say. See if it matches the language and the goals and the ideas that you have around the culture. Now, does anybody know why I've got communicate 3 arrows here behind this picture of culture? Anybody have any thoughts that they want to put in the chat? I'm going to give you all a second. Those of you that are certified should know, because this often comes up in certification. Audra, I like that. Okay, so I'm sort of getting at 3 words here, but we've got some nice participation from a few of you. So this is actually, I may steal some of these ideas. These are great. What I want to make sure is to remind everybody to communicate in 3 different ways. So we know that adults learn visually, they learn by sound, and they learn by doing. And so, for example, this program, I'm talking to you, I'm showing you slides that are hopefully visually interesting, and I've provided a way for you to download and take notes and participate. Those are the 3 different ways adults learn: visual, auditory, and kinesthetically. So those of you who may not be certified and studying for certification, you need to know. Thank you, Kavitha. There we go. We have lots of people putting that in. I appreciate it. And when we look at culture in the organization, we know that we have to connect our activities to what we want the culture to be. So the first thing is defining that culture, as I was just talking about, making sure that everybody is on the same page for what culture is. Then make sure that our processes align with that. If you have an organization that empowers employees and looks for people to grow and develop, but every single thing they have to do is a standard operating procedure, I'm going to suggest to you that those two things are probably not aligned. We want to be holding people accountable to the behaviors and ethics we require in our organization. And being visible is all about you as the HR resource, or you as the leaders of the company walking the walk and talking the talk. You know, you can't say this is our culture and then cheat on your taxes, which actually takes us to what is non-negotiable. There are often certain things in a business that it doesn't really matter how gray the line is, we're not going there. And finally, if culture is a new thing for your organization and defining it and working with it and treating it in a certain way, knowing that this takes time. Culture does not change on a dime. Culture is a slow moving situation that that over time will evolve to be the culture you want it to be. Yeah, Kim, I think you bring up a really good point. I think you're from the Netherlands, you said at the beginning, and she has an international company. So often culture is different in each office. Your policies are different, your languages are probably different. So there's nothing wrong with having different cultures. It's just important when we talk about employee engagement that the business understands the culture they want and the culture they have, making sure those two things are aligned, and then making sure that they live up to those expectations. Now, getting back to this idea of employee engagement, I want people to put in the chat and think about, when do most employees quit in their relationship with your organization? Go ahead and just throw in the chat some ideas. When do you think most people quit? Okay, when they feel undervalued, passed up for a promotion. Oh, wait. I saw nobody ever gets the right answer. And Kristen Holstham, I hope I'm saying your name right, is absolutely correct. Nobody else ever gets that. And what she said was, when life changes. And that is so true. What we know is that many employees quit jobs when they have a milestone birthday, when they're going to a class reunion, when they get married, when they get divorced. And why is this? It's because it's a time that they step back and reflect, am I where I want to be in life? Have I gotten to what I want to be doing? And so we want to be aware of that. You know, what can we really do about it? We can train our managers to think, to listen, to understand when an employee is going through these issues. Make sure they know what is their hometown, what college did they go to, so that next time they see somebody in the hall, they can say, wow, you must be bummed that Michigan lost that basketball game last week. Just to have those personal one-on-one conversations with people. So that's a little bit about what we can do about it. And it's really just about staying in tune, because we know that what matters to employees is the overall team. What they really care about is being connected and having people know that they're important, that they're part of this team as they go forward. So some of the things that we can do to encourage teams is this idea of praising publicly. Give recognition just for helping other people in your organization, not necessarily because they solve the problem of world peace, but recognition for, hey, so-and-so was out yesterday. Thanks for stepping in and getting that work done publicly. Talk about things that make a positive impact, not just results. So somebody who maybe just finds a better way to organize SharePoint, you may just make sure to acknowledge that. You want to be emphasizing learning. And these days, learning does not have to be expensive. GoCo is making programs like these available to you on a regular basis. You can use YouTube, one of the best resources for employee training that we have out there. Focus on the goals for the overall organization and make sure that the work you're giving people supports those goals, that you're not just giving them busy work to be finished. And then finally, make sure you're aware of what's happening outside of work and what's happening at other times in their lives, and that you acknowledge the work-life, what I like to call is work-life integration. Now, I've had an argument with my daughter over this. She doesn't particularly like the term, but I believe these days, I know my life is completely integrated. So, but it could be work-life balance if that's more appropriate in your organization. And it's only that much harder in this world with remote teams. And so not all of you may be remote, but a lot of you may be remote. And it's brought people, it's elevated people's need for a sense of belonging and really feeling like they are not the fish out of water. So we've all added lots of collaboration tools. We have Teams, we have Zoom, we have Slack, but sometimes they just want to be with each other. So empower your employees to connect and to really engage at that level. Give them ways to grow in their career and make sure that they see a pathway. And this is funny. I just noticed, this is obviously, I had this on here during the very height of COVID, but if you have remote employees, have events where you bring them together in person for a purpose, even if it's just a monthly birthday party or a dinner out as a team. None of it has to be expensive, but it has to exist, because where people are just remote, they become disengaged very quickly. As we talk about career growth, I want to share a bunch of ideas with you around the idea of training and development, because training and development doesn't just have to mean going to a course, going to a conference. Training is often just about additional learning. So external experiences. I love to throw out the idea of why not have somebody in customer service be that person that represents you every month at the Chamber of Commerce meeting. Let them get out of the office, try sales in a safe, limited environment that's never going to hurt your organization. Make sure we're giving people stretch assignments, things that they wouldn't normally maybe be doing. Self-directed development is as simple as Ashley putting the link here to Julie's book. Let people take it on themselves. We can all get books from Amazon pretty inexpensively these days. We can sign up for webinars that are not expensive. Not everything has to be directed by the HR department. Some of your employees can do these things on their own. Now, for most of you here today, I'm going to reach out either tomorrow, by the end of the week or early next week, with some free tools. But we're going to have a lot of people watch the recording of this. And so if you watch the recording and you want some of the free tools, scan this QR code or send me an email at this email address, and you will automatically get all the free tools. So if any of you want to do that now, you can, or we'll send it to you later this week. So we talked a little bit about work-life balance, work-life integration, and I saw somebody put in here that it is integrate. I believe it is integration these days, because there are days that I'm all on work, and there are days that I'm not. And this virtual world allows us to be that. I have to tell you, my favorite time to work is on Saturdays. You can all imagine why. It's because I'm not getting emails and phone calls from employees, and I can get my work done. So I allow myself additional time off during the week so that that's my integration. I can probably finish 2.5 hours, 2.5 days of work on a Saturday. I mean, I really simply can. And so Audrey says she's the same way. So think of working that out with your manager. If that's what works for you and you want to be home at 3 o'clock to help your kids off the bus, why not think about that? John, I love saying work and life are a relationship. You know what? I think that's probably the best way to say it. So I'm going to move on. And I may be stealing that in future programs. But as we talk about all this, we really have to think about, does your organizational structure support all this? Because if you're in an organization that's very hierarchical, some of these ideas may be difficult to embrace. So you want to go into this new world. You want to have an organizational structure that's trusting, empowered, builds relationships, and listens to people. So think about talking about that in your own organization. Some other things that might really help you bring this to the company. We've talked about meaningful work already. So I want to jump right over to mentors. Mentors really matter to people. Some of the data shows 68% of people that stay in a job for a long period of time do it because they have a mentor, and a mentor who cares about them. And what we're learning right now is that mentorship goes both ways. The junior person in the mentorship sometimes can help with technology ideas, can help with new things that the younger workforce is thinking about. And a mentor obviously is there to teach you about historical things in the business, about things they've learned through their careers. Everybody used to talk about exit interviews, but now a lot of people talk about stay interviews. How many people on the call today do stay interviews in their businesses? And the whole idea of a stay interview, yay, we see lots of them. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but it's really, I don't even know why we have to call it a word. It's just about talking to employees. I personally think exit interviews are the world's colossal waste of time. If you don't know why somebody's left by the time they leave, shame on you as the HR person or the manager. We have to be engaged with our employees. Right. Shireen, I love the name engagement interviews. In my book, HR Hacks, I just suggest once a month, every month, you send your managers one question to ask of every employee. That's it. Don't even call it anything fancy. This month, we're going to ask all of our employees, are the benefits working for you? That's it. Stop your employee in the hallway, but act like you care. Next month, we're going to ask every single employee, what do you think we need on the team that we don't have today? Tell me about it. Is there something we need? That's it. Don't make a big deal of it. Katie, send me some information. I don't know what you mean about my books out of print. I have plenty of books that are printed and I'd be happy to send you one. So that's the idea of asking them before they leave. And a lot of you do it. So I'm going to kind of move on because I see we have a number of questions. Katie, can you send me an email about that and we can talk? None of this has to cost a fortune. What your employees want is for you to give them the right tools to do the job. I mean, if they need a laptop, give them a laptop. If they need a second monitor, give them a second monitor. You can buy it on Amazon for $79. It'll be there tomorrow. They want training and coaching. These people who say new workers just want a trophy, they want to earn the trophy. So they really want to learn. We've talked a lot about paying attention and listening. They want you to serve others and they want to serve others. Recognizing loud and proud and yes, having some amount of fun at work. But to do it all, we can keep it very simple. And one of the things I've seen people do, I've done in a couple of my organizations in the past, is something as simple as a board in your office where people can just post thank you notes. You know, so-and-so did this for me, it was great. So-and-so did that for me, it was terrific. So there are lots of ways today we can do these things digitally. But I think sometimes just the good old-fashioned way is as good as everything. Now, I know you are all busy and crazed HR professionals. And so I hear a lot, I don't have time for this. But don't say you don't have time for it. One of my favorite quotes is a quote by H. Jackson Brown Jr., who says, you have exactly the same number of hours in a day that were given to Helen Keller, Michelangelo, Mother Teresa, Thomas Jefferson, and Albert Einstein. And look what they accomplished. Our problem in HR, I believe, is that we let too many people usurp our time, suck our time, take our time away from us, and give yourself the privilege of saying, now just doesn't work for me. I'm doing things that I need to get done. And with that, I am going to leave you with my contact information. I think Ashley is going to share with you the Sherman HRCI numbers. And then I see that we do have a number of questions. So I'm going to have a look at those while Ashley shares the HRCI information.
Yep. I will share the code. We have one that you can put in for SHRM for the activity ID. And then for HRCI, you can use this same code and put in the description of the program to HRCI as well. And that should get you credit for both.
And so, Ashley, let me explain that a little bit while you put it in the chat. So if you all are PHR or SPHR certified, or the APHRs, because that means you're on the HRCI soon. Everybody, I can put my contact details back up if you want. What you have to do in HRCI, and thank you for caring about my contact details. What you have to do in HRCI is you have to self-report the webinar. So go under the option that says self-report, and then you can say, you attended this webinar, here's the title of it, and it's already been pre-approved by SHRM, and then it'll count. That's all you have to do. It's really easy. All right, we have some great questions. So Ashley, if it's okay, I'm just going to jump over. So
Yep.
Alan asked, are job seekers looking for employers whose values align with theirs more than ever before? Absolutely, with a capital A. And so if your business stands for something, has some really good values, make sure that you are bringing that up in your job ad, in all sorts of other things, that you do, because they absolutely are looking for that. Will says, when they don't get recognition for their contributions, I think that was more of a statement than a question. So An says, how do you address culture, needs, preferences across different generations? I am not a real believer that there's a huge difference across generations. There is definitely a huge difference among people. And I have a funny story that I always tell. People always used to say, millennials are so entitled and so lazy. Well, I have a sister and a sister-in-law that are my generation, that are baby boomers. And let me tell you, they're the two most entitled and lazy human beings I've ever met in my life. I would not recommend either one of them. I love them to pieces as my sister and sister-in-law, but would not recommend them for any job. So don't assume that just because someone is a certain age or a certain this or that, that they have certain culture concerns. You want to make sure that you are really aligning your culture with your business. And then it's for employees to get on with your culture. So some of the engagement issues may be different. If leaders, why are we spending money? Yeah, Dan's asking some really good questions about culture and bottom line benefits. If leaders are asking, why are we spending money on this? You say, like I said in one of the earlier slides, because it will drive profits to the bottom line, quite simply. There's plenty of data out there, you can Google it, that engaged employees make money. So that's really how you quantify it. We know that for a fact. And Dan always asked, you mentioned 5 characteristics. Things like initiative, creativity. You asked those interview questions. Tell me about a creative solution to a problem you had in the last year. Tell me about a project that you undertook, not because it was assigned to you, but you just thought it needed to be done. That's how you screen for those kinds of things. And if they can't come up with any good ideas, then they probably haven't done it. All right. So Ashley, I think with that, we're probably going to wrap things up.
Yeah. Once again, we will send out a copy of the recording, so you'll get the slides with links to all of the resources that were in the slides mentioned. We did share the activity ID, which you can put directly into SHRM. And again, like Lori said, you can self-report this session for HRCI and other credits. It looks like we covered everything else too. So another great presentation, and keep an eye out. We always announce new webinars. We have some more coming up, and I think this does conclude our series that we just did, but still not done with Lori. We'll have another session next month, so we'll send out some more information on that.
Great. Thanks, everybody. It was great to meet you. Bye-bye.
Bye.